we're going to be learning a little bit about color wheel and how you can be using the color wheel when you are making your art. No matter which kind of medium it is, like let's say you're using pencil crayons or watercolor paint or acrylic paint or pastels or whatever it is you happen to be using. The same skills and understandings that you would learn with one medium would be used for all mediums. So what we're going to be doing for the next little bit is going to be with pencil crayons, but just so you know, it's transferable to any of the mediums that you would be using in art at any time. Okay, so starting super basics of what you would have learned in your early years, your primary colors are your yellow, red, and blue. When you mix two primary colors together, you're going to get a secondary color. So when I mix yellow and blue, I get green. When I mix yellow and red, I get orange. When I mix blue and red, I get purple or violet. Okay. What's also is the tertiary colors, which is when you mix a primary color with a secondary color. So yellow is primary, green is secondary. When I mix those two, I get yellow-green. Green's a secondary color, blue's a primary color. When I mix those two, I get blue-green, and etc. Blue and purple, I'm going to get blue-violet. Red and violet, I'm going to get red-violet. Red and orange, red-orange. And then yellow, you mix with orange, you're going to get a yellow-orange. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice the idea of mixing these colors and basically learning how you can transition from one color to the next one in terms of making your art and how to really mix them together. So what I want you to do is you're going to search up a color wheel online somehow, and you'll have that in front of you in whichever device you have. It's on your phone or computer or whatever. Just have a color wheel in front of you while you're doing this, and that will make things a lot easier for you. Okay, so you're going to be making your own little color wheel in basically using pencil crayons. Okay, so you have in your art kit a square page that's this sort of it's got a little bit of a brown tone to it, so you're going to use that page, and it's working well because you're going to create basically some circles on here, so a square works well to do that. So find anything in your house that you can use to trace something larger. So here's just like a big can, whatever you can find. So look around your house and find something that you can trace. I have a couple things here, and you're going to find something that's big to trace that circle and something that's smaller. So I'll do that here first. Let's show you guys. I'm just gonna trace around here. And there will be part of my color wheel. Now I'm gonna just use this tape here and create the inside of it. Okay. So your color wheel is going to be all around this on the inside there, like the one that I have finished here. So my suggestion now would be to just kind of look at the color wheel that you have on your screen, and you're going to block in just those sort of main areas of color. So very, very lightly in pencil, you're going to sort of block off where your yellow would be. So very, very lightly. And then very, very lightly where your red would be. And then really lightly where your blue would be. And then you sort of can get a little bit of a layout in terms of where things will fall here. I even kind of have to fix this myself here, because you want them to sort of be like a third, a third, a third, a third. So your yellow, red, and blue taking up like a third, right? So then here would be this is going to be where so if it's blue and red, then your purple will be there, and etc. Okay, so you're going to have just a really, really light line to show where there's sort of main colors, or your primary colors will be, and that way you can sort of have more. You don't end up with all yellow on this side, and then you don't have space for what's happening on the other side. That's the reason why I said to kind of just lay out just slightly where your primary colors will be. Then you're not going to use any colors other than what is in the color wheel. So what I mean by that is you wouldn't be using any grays or browns or blacks or whites or anything that isn't a part of these true colors. So you want to take out of your pencil crayon pack or the pencil crayons that were given to you, and it's easiest if you want to lay it out here in the, you know, the range of your color wheel. So I've got yellow going into orange, red going into purple, purple going into blue, and blue going into green, and then the green goes back into the yellow as well, right? So have those colors ready to go, and so you line them up, and that way you're not going to be getting confused, and you want to make sure again that you don't have anything, you know, there's no brown tones, there's no you know, grays or anything like that you're going to be including in here, because the true color wheel doesn't have any of those other tones to it. So, you know, the color wheel doesn't have like a pink, right, which is red and white. So we don't, you know, we don't want to have the white in there, and we don't have like you know what I mean, like the burgundies that are created with a black or a brown and things like that. So just the true colors that are in the color wheel. And I have a sped up version of this, making this to show you guys, and so that will basically help you hopefully to follow along and make your own little color wheel. One of the reasons that I want you to do this is that when you're working with pencil crayons or any kinds of paints or anything with color, you always want to be, you know, understanding how to mix those and how to blend them. Traditionally, a lot of people think that when they're using pencil crayons in an artwork, they're just choosing one color, and they're just using that one color in that one area. And that's maybe what you did when, you know, in your younger years. But as you learn to actually develop some skills in art and using the supplies, you'd sort of understand that the idea is that you actually mix them together and you can transition one color to the next. So this is going to help you to learn to transition those colors and also learn what colors mix together. Because when you're thinking about what colors mix together, you always want to think about the color wheel and what color can I blend with another one. Okay, so here's my video coming up of making this in a quick motion. So just a couple of tips as you work on your color wheel. The idea is that you want to get a nice clean fade from one color into the next. So if you notice when I know it was a sped up version, but if you notice when you were watching me make this one, is that I didn't just get it done right at sort of the first time. So I kind of started with a really light layer of each of the colors. And then as I went along, you really want to think about layering that color, and you want to go, let's say you're just in the area of this yellow and green. So you're going back and forth between adding yellow, adding green, adding yellow, adding green, adding yellow, adding green, back and forth, so you can get a really nice transition from one to the next. You don't want to see any harsh lines of the color change. You want to see a smooth change as you go all the way along through the color wheel. So that's sort of the first tip. You also want to remember that it's a process, and it will take time to do it right, and that you do really want to layer those colors and be going back into it and back into it and back into it to try to get that right. So you don't want to be pressing heavy right away, and you don't want to to try to get it all perfect the first time go around. It will be a process, and it will take time for you to layer it up and to build up the color for them to all transition nicely into each other.